"I can't do it," I told him. "I can't." "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes. There's nothing I'd like more than to be able to sit down with her and tell her how I feel, but I know I can't do it." Tubbs sat down like Buddha, legs folded up on one of those awful blue armchairs in his office. He smiled, looked into my eyes, and lowering his voice, as he did whenever he wanted to be listened to carefully, said, "Let me tell you a story." And without so much as waiting for me to nod, Jorge launched into it. When I was little, I loved the circus, and what I loved best about the circus were the animals. I was especially enthralled by the elephant, which, as I later learned, was also the other kid's favorite animal. During the show, the huge beast flaunted his colossal size, weight, and strength, but after his performance and almost until he came back on stage, one of the elephant's legs was always chained to a small post that was staked into the ground. The post, however, was just a minuscule piece of wood, simply pounded a few inches into the dirt, and even though the chain itself was big and thick, it seemed obvious that an animal so strong it was capable of uprooting a tree from the ground could easily wrench himself free of this post and take off. It was a mystery to me. What kept him from doing it? Why didn't he run away? When I was 5 or 6 years old, I still had faith in the wisdom of my elders. So I asked a teacher or a parent or an uncle to explain the mystery of the elephant to me. And one of them explained to me that the elephant didn't run away because it was trained. So I asked the obvious question, if it's trained, why do they need to chain it up at all? I don't ever recall having received a coherent answer. In time, I forgot all about the elephant and the stake, and it only occurred to me when I encountered other people who had wondered the same thing. A few years ago, I found out that, luckily for me, someone had actually been wise enough to find the answer. The circus elephant doesn't run away because he's been chained to a stake like that since he was very, very little. I closed my eyes and pictured the helpless newborn elephant chained to the post. I'm sure that back then, the little baby elephant pushed and pulled and sweated in his attempt to break free. And despite his efforts, he couldn't do it, because back then that stake was too strong for him. I pictured him falling asleep exhausted, and then trying again the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, until, one day, a terrible day in the life of the little elephant, the animal accepted his powerlessness and resigned himself to his fate. The huge, powerful elephant we see at the circus doesn't run away because, poor thing, he thinks he can't. The memory of the powerlessness he felt when he was just a little baby is still etched in his mind. And the worst thing is that he has never really questioned that memory. He never, ever again tried to test his strength. That's the way it works, Demian. We're all a little bit like the circus elephant. We make our way through the world chained to hundreds of tiny stakes that curtail our freedom. We live thinking that we can't do tons of things, simply because once, a long time ago, when we were little kids, we tried and it didn't work. After that, we behaved just like the elephant and etched into our memories the message, I can't, I know I can't, and I never will be able to. We've grown up burdened by that message that we imposed upon ourselves, and that's why we never again tried to free ourselves from the stake. Sometimes, when we feel the bars and rattle the chains, we turn back to look at the stake and think, I can't now, and I will never be able to. Jorge paused for a long time. Then he got up and sat down on the floor in front of me and continued, That's what's happening to you, Demi. You're living your life conditioned by the memory of a Demian who no longer exists, a Demian who couldn't. The only way you can know if you can is to try again and do it with all your heart, with all your heart.